Hey everybody, what's going on? Thanks for joining me. This is Nathan Presswich here. I'm just doing a little project for my Lifetime Health and Wellness class taught by Melissa Uftrings. Today is October 15th, right on the due date of course, and so hopefully I get that uploaded in time tonight. This project is the beginning fitness plan. So what I have done is designed a strength training program that utilizes two main philosophies. The first of which is linear progression. And in the context of this program, all that simply means is over time you're going to be adding more and more weight to the bar. The second of which is a high frequency program referring to your body parts. You're going to be training each body part multiple times per week, as opposed to what you might call a bro split, where you would have an arm day, a shoulder day, a chest day, a back day, so on and so forth. So now I'd like to get into plan details, starting with the lifts this program revolves around. So here are the main lifts that this workout revolves around. So now the exercises can be changed to personal preference, but the movement patterns are not negotiable. You want a vertical push, a vertical pull, a horizontal push, a horizontal pull, a squat pattern, and a hinge pattern. I 100% recommend those. The exercises on the right these are what I would generally recommend, but they're a little bit more flexible. So for example, instead of a back squat, you could have a specific kind of back squat, of course, whether it's high bar or low bar. You could do a front squat, you could even do an overhead squat or a goblet squat, whatever is more in line with your personal method of lifting. Maybe you have an injury you need to work out, whatever works best for you. As you can see at the bottom there, we're going to talk about this a little bit more later, but horizontal and vertical upper body movements are going to be performed in a superset. I have giant set written there because I generally throw in an ab exercise in that giant set, but they're going to be performed in the same workout. So for example, you're going to be doing your pull-ups with your overhead press, and then you're going to be doing your rows with your bench. Doing your exercises in a superset like that, I find your pulling with your pushing doesn't affect performance a whole lot, actually. In fact, I often find it helps warm up my joints more and prepare, especially on bench, prepare my back to be that foundation for the pressing movement. So next, let's get into the assistance lifts. So I have assistance lifts have a lot more flexibility to them, but generally thinking you want to use assistance lifts that help your weaknesses out. So I have listed a lot of examples there. You can take your pick depending on what you need. Maybe you have an injury, again, you need to work through, or maybe, for example, on squats you're low out of the hole, or on deadlifts you're slow pulling off the floor, you have a specific sticking point like halfway up. So that's generally how you want to pick your assistance exercises. So one thing that is unique about this program is I do not do all the exercises for a movement on the same day. So I'll do the main lift one day, and then the next day I'll do my assistance exercises, and we're going to get into this next, but the third day I do my auxiliary exercises. So going back to the assistance lifts, I have a lot listed there. You really just want to pick one that helps you through your weak point or your sticking point on your lift. So I have a lot listed there. So like for overhead press, you have your jerk variations, your push presses. For your bench press, of course, close grip, highly recommend. Inclines, declines, pause benches, pin presses. Your rows, it's just different rowing variations, T-bar row, Yates row. Your back squat, of course, front squat, box squats, even jump squats would be great. For your deadlift, of course, Romanian deadlifts, so you have good mornings. Glute ham raises are an excellent one. I would probably use that more as an auxiliary. Can be used as an assistance though. Okay, so moving on to the auxiliary lifts, there's a couple things I want to say about this. So the auxiliary lifts are, in my opinion, if you run out of time in the gym, these are the stuff you should cut out of your workout, alright? But they do absolutely have their place. They will help you build a little bit more muscle. They'll help you recover a little bit more. It's essentially pump work. You're trying to get a pump in the muscle, build metabolic activity in that muscle group, for those of you that don't know what a pump is. These I would highly recommend that you do unilateral work as well. You're doing a lot of bilateral work with your bench pressing, your overhead pressing, pull-ups, squats, deadlifts, all bilateral work, and your assistance work as well. This is where I'd recommend unilateral work to help build up some balance in your body. Try and build up that balance that's lacking, because when you're doing bilateral work, your dominant arm and dominant leg, whichever side you're dominant on, is generally going to be doing more work. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention about this portion of the workout is that it doesn't have to be these auxiliary lifts. This is where I would also recommend, if you wanted to learn a new skill, a new exercise skill, such as handstands, or learn how to do work on the rings, or maybe you want to compete in strongman. They have, you have specific strongman events you need to work on. This is where I would recommend that you incorporate that work into your workout. So you still have your main lift and assistance lift, and then you learn that new skill if that's something that you're interested in. Okay, so here we are moving on to the progression of the lifts. So progression is progression is half of the game, right? Linear progression. So here we have the progression for your main lifts. Now it's a pretty basic outline. So its program is laid out in 3 4-week waves. So what is a wave? Basically, a wave means your training for that training block is going to be all pretty much the same. So for that first wave, we have 4 sets of 8. That second wave, we have 5 sets of 5. And that last wave, we have 10 sets of 3 per workout. So it's that first wave is not generally what you would have in the strength numbers per se. Most people tend to say strength building is 6 reps and below. But I would think of this first wave more as a preparatory phase for moving into those 5s and those 3s. 5s and 3s are heavy. Those are heavy lifts, and you want to take some time to get into those lifts, really, honestly. So those 8s are what they're going to do is help you, 1, build a little bit of muscle, and 2, help your joints and your tendons and ligaments build up strength as well to get ready to go into those heavier lifts, those 5s and those 3s in the coming weeks and months. So let's get into each individual workout now. So I have up on the screen here your Monday and your Tuesday workouts. So I have it as your overhead press and your deadlift workout. So I organize the workouts into 3 giant sets. So like I mentioned before, doing your pulling along with your pressing, 1 is going to help build that posterior anterior balance, and then you're just going to get more work done. And then I like to throw in a core variation at the end of that giant set, or sometimes it would be a cardio variation as well, maybe 30 seconds of jump rope or some prowler presses or something like that. Nothing too demanding. Programs, the first time you've done giant sets like this, those 4x8s definitely will get you breathing, get you sweating pretty good at first, but you'll get used to it in the first week. And again, you'll find that doing your pulling superset with your pressing does not affect performance a whole lot. And honestly, working out in supersets and giant sets is a game changer. I don't know anyone that has gone to working out in that method that has gone back to doing straight sets. So again, another thing here is that I have these tiered in order of importance. So you want to get your main work done first. If nothing else, you only have that short time to get in the gym. Go ahead and get those main lifts done, knock that out. If you've got the time and you putting in the work, do your assistance next, and then do your auxiliary work or your skill work or strongman events or whatever that may be. And then if you want to take it a step further, I go ahead and recommend doing a burnout set for the same muscle group as your auxiliary work. Again, just get that pump work going. If you look at the deadlift day, you can't really do that antagonist superset there, because what is the opposite of deadlift? I don't know. Maybe you can comment the answer for me. But so what I like to do instead is do some sort of explosive hip hinge movement to pair with the deadlift. So here I have kettlebell swings. You might do broad jumps, or you might do cable pull-throughs on the rope. with the rope, you know, something to get those hips moving explosively. And then it's pretty much the same thing with the squat, just do an explosive squat movement as opposed to a hip hinge movement. Moving on to Thursday and Saturday, these are just the bench press and squat days to give you an idea of what those might look like. And I would recommend keeping these the same pretty much throughout the entire 12-week program. Now, if you absolutely get bored, the one thing I would say, okay, go ahead and change is the auxiliary work, what kind of your dessert exercises, if you will. So now moving on to the actual progression from week to week. So let's start just from week 1, day 1. Let's say your working weight is 100 pounds. So what I would like to say is that these sets are ramp up sets. They are not 4 working sets, 5 working sets, 10 working sets, whatever, wherever part in what they are ramp up sets. So you're working up to a conservative rep max, if you will, right? So let's say that first week you're doing 100 pounds for 8. That is your very last set. That is your 4th set of 8. Alright, so your sets before that might be the bar at 45 pounds, 65 pounds, 80 pounds, and then 100 pounds. Alright, whatever the case may be, whatever jumps you're comfortable with. But then week to week, we're going to up that weight 5 to 10 pounds. Try to do 5 pounds for upper body lifts. Try to do 10 pounds for lower body lifts. But again, you got to know yourself. You be conservative if you have to do the 5 pounds for your lift. If you have smaller plates than that and feel like you can't make that 5-pound jump, then absolutely go ahead and be conservative. And you know what? There's some days you're going to go in there where you're going to have to repeat that weight. It's happened to me. You're going to see later, I went for my 8 rep max squat. I only got 6 reps on it, and it just wasn't feeling, it was pretty ugly too. But know yourself, be conservative. I want to say it is more important to get the reps than it is to get the weight. You see, so you can see on that last week, the week 4, 3 workouts, that's 115 by 8. It's more important that you get that 8. So if you had to repeat that 110, that's okay. Repeat that 110. And then don't, like, if you get that 115 and you only get 6, like you're gonna see I do later, it's you don't feel good. Honestly, it's just kind of psychologically defeating if you don't get that target. You know what I'm saying? This is about working to a rep max for the day. This is not an all-out, all-time max, which it might be an all-out max for you, but that doesn't mean that's the purpose. You're trying to just get a rep max for the day. Alright, so don't be trying to push for a new PR every time. You might have to, like I said, you might have to repeat weights, and you shouldn't ever be going down, but that may be the case sometimes. Like, for example, if you get an injury and you're going to have to take a couple weeks off from a couple exercises, then you might have to go down. So let's talk about progression from wave to wave. So the first wave, so the waves are laid out like 4 by 8, 5 by 5, 10 by 3. So the first wave you're doing 4 sets of 8, second wave 5 sets of 5, third wave 10 sets of 3. Now I want to say these are not all working sets. You're not doing 10 working sets of triples. There's no way you're doing that. And you're not doing 5 working sets of 5 or 4 working sets of 8 even. These are ramp up sets. So every time your first set, and then your second set's going to be heavier, then your third set's going to be heavier, then you're going to have your last set of your set of 8. And the same thing with your 5s and your triples. Okay, so let's talk about when you finish the program. At the end of the program, you can do your 1 rep max test. Absolutely go for it. Highly recommend it. But it's also possible to simply cycle the program back over again to that first week 1, day 1 set of 8 with a new starting point. So if you had 100 for 8 at the start, like it says here, and then you completed the program, cycled it back over, it's very likely you could probably do 120 for 8. And trust me, a 20-pound increase in the lift is phenomenal. It's once you start getting in a more intermediate, advanced level, a 20-pound increase is going to be really hard to come by. So absolutely take advantage of it. So let's talk about progression in the assistance and auxiliary lifts. So now progression in these is not terribly important, but it's still something you want to be mindful of, especially in the assistance lifts. We're working in a 4 to 6 rep range for our assistance lifts, and you want to be using things like rest pause, eccentric, emphasis, or cluster sets, some sort of intensity technique. This is where we would incorporate those if you're doing these assistance lifts. But then you absolutely want to be mindful, but you do want to make sure you're not going backward. You want to make sure you're not stalling, but we're not trying to hit a target here on these lifts. Again, these are assistance lifts. These are not our measurements of strength. Although, that being said, if you're getting stronger in these lifts, then you're still getting stronger, right? And then as for our auxiliary lifts, I would not be concerned about these at all unless you are trying to learn that new skill or working on your strongman movements or your events or whatever the case may be. So then you absolutely want progression. You make sure you're progressing in that exercise. But another concern, if you're just doing it more for the bodybuilding effect, then you're just trying to chase the pump, right? Build muscle in that area. Don't worry about it. Don't major in the minors, basically, right? Alright, so next we're going to go on to my personal testing. I don't have my 1 rep maxes. I don't have footage of my 1 rep maxes, but I do have my 8 rep maxes from the last week of last week of the first wave. So week 4. From week 4, I have my 8 rep maxes. So first up, I have my overhead press day, my Monday lift, right? These are going to be in order. And this, I believe, is, what is that, 115, 120 pounds, I think, 120, 125, something in that range, nothing crazy. Definitely not my strongest lift, but this is a new 8 rep max for me. So I am happy with it for now. Now for strength purposes, you can see I have knee bend here. I care more about moving the weight. I'm not too much a stickler on form. If it was for bodybuilding purposes, I would want to be more strict. Moving on, here I am in the EVCC gym, shout out. Walt Price Student Fitness Center doing my deadlifts. I believe that is 315 or 325, I can't remember. And it moved pretty well, pretty easily. Deadlifts are pretty okay for me. Next here is my bench press at 210. I got 210 for 8 here. Bench press is not one of my favorite exercises, but still very great for developing upper body strength here. Let's see, what do I have? One more rep? Okay, there we go. Rack it. Alright. Now moving on, here is the squats I was talking about earlier. It doesn't go well. I already told you, I only get 6. I was going for an 8. You can already see it's pretty troublesome there. My form was not great, and it was too much weight. That's the end of the day. I was trying to do too much weight. Yeah. Okay. You can see when my hands start opening up like that when I'm trying to push the weight up. That's when you know I'm in trouble. There it is. Okay. Alright. Okay, so those are my tests from week 4, my 8 rep maxes. I'm currently working on that 5x5 month right now. So I want to talk a little bit how this program utilizes the health-related component of fitness, of muscular strength, and to a lesser degree, your body composition. So first, I think the improvements in muscular strength are obvious. Over time, you are increasing the weight, you are getting stronger. Simple as that. And then to a lesser degree, like I mentioned, your body composition, you are going to be building some muscle mass for sure, especially during that 4x8 month. And then also doing work in that giant set pattern, you're going to be burning some fat. Working total body training burns a lot of fat. In addition, to the lot of activity overall that you're doing. Now, this program is only 4 days a week, so you have a couple off days here. You have Wednesday, you have Friday, and you have Sunday. You can absolutely use 2 of those days to do some higher intensity cardio conditioning training, like some sprints, explosive high intensity training like that would absolutely complement your training here. I absolutely recommend walking every day as a form of low intensity cardio just for your overall health. It's going to help your cardio endurance a little bit. It will actually do pretty good things for your body composition as well, but it's also going to aid in muscle recovery so you can hit your next training session and bang it out. So next we are talking about the FIT principle and how this program relates to it. Now FIT is F-I-T-T. The F stands for frequency. So as I mentioned, the frequency is 4 times per week and you're hitting each muscle group 3 times per week, but you're weight training 4 times per week. I stands for intensity. Now weight training in of itself is high intensity. Now on a workout to workout scale, like I said, you're working up to a rep max for 1 set, so it's very high intensity on that 1 set. The workup sets are going to be more moderate intensity. The time, like I said, this program is flexible. If you have short time, you can just do the main lifts and you can probably knock out a workout in half an hour, 45 minutes. If you're doing the program in its entirety from main lift to auxiliary lifts, you're probably looking at the hour 15 range. And then if you're adding warm-ups and cool downs, and if you want to do stretching afterwards, then you're probably want to dedicate an hour and a half to 2 hours to the program. And then the type, and of course this is weightlifting, but specifically this is weightlifting at first more in the hypertrophy range, but then the second and third wave is in the strength training range. Lastly, I need to do my body composition, and for my body composition I am choosing the waist to hip ratio. 1, simply because it is the easiest to do at the moment, and 2, because for leaner individuals like myself, and BMI is not a totally accurate, let's say, and its measurement. For an individual like myself, it would say I'm overweight, which I don't know by whose standards I'm overweight. And then I am not doing the skin calibers simply because I do not have access to that at this time. So let's take a look, shall we? So I just got done measuring my waist hip ratio. My waist was a measurement of 31 1/4 about, and my hip was 41 1/4 about, for a ratio of 3/4 or about 0.75. So according to this chart, 0.75 puts me into that well above average for a 28-year-old male. Whatever that means, but I think I'm doing okay. So one last thing I wanted to talk about is who I think this program is for. Now theoretically this kind of program can work for everybody, but I would recommend this for an intermediate lifter, someone who's got a few years of experience in the gym, mainly because of the amount of exercises and kind of exercise knowledge. It requires you to have some self-awareness about your starting points and how much progression you're going to make and what exercises to select to help your weaknesses. For beginners, I would recommend something a lot more simple than this. Probably just like if you took out the assistance lifts and auxiliary lifts and just did the main lifts, that would be a pretty good beginner program. And then for advanced athletes, they could absolutely do this. I would recommend it more as a break or just off-season maintenance for your regular programming. You know, if you play a sport, you know, this would definitely be an off-season program. And if you're a lifter, this advanced lifter lifting, you know, 400, 500, 600 pounds is not uncommon, right? Then this is probably just be more like a maintenance program or a break if you're want to get away from like the percentage-based training and some of the more complicated waves and rotating percentages, daily undulations, things like that. Alright, so again, thank you all for joining me. I hope I got everything for you, Miss Uftrings, and thank you all for watching, of course, and yes, I'll catch you all next time, hopefully with another YouTube video for something else.